We are back. It is your host, Isaiah. Welcome to the O&B Puckcast, episode number 284, brought to you by FlyersNittyGritty.com, Summit Adjusters, Jim South Street, and featured on Hockey Hot Stove, the hottest hockey forum website out there. Go to hockeyhotstove.com, scroll down and see the O&B Puckcast insignia. And if you click on that, it will take you right to our YouTube shows. And of course, we are live streaming on YouTube right now. Also on X and Facebook. While you're there, if you could subscribe, hit that like button, and hit that notification bell so you won't be surprised. You'll know when the next show is coming up. And we really, truly would appreciate that. You are watching the very last O&B Puckcast for 2025. We have a great show for you. And let's go to the panel. Chef, we are going to be joined momentarily by the great Dan Silver. So until he joins us, why don't you give us your first thoughts?
Well, the first thoughts is, we're seeing Flyers got 6 reps in the World Juniors. Can't wait to talk about that. That's going to be exciting. I think the 2 that we thought were going to be the least talked about are probably going to carry a little bit more weight now. So that's a good thing. And then, the disappointing loss. I mean, since last we met, the Flyers went 2-1. So they had a chance to start this road trip right. But I'm sure we'll delve into it a little bit more. But just a little disappointed about the Fly guys the other day because they let one slide, I think. Yeah, absolutely. And before we bring in our esteemed guest, Chef, why don't you remind the folks why they should call Summit Adjusters before their insurance company if they have home damage in PA, Delaware, and New Jersey? Well, absolutely. You call them on nights like this when you're getting gusts 40, 50 miles an hour and the siding blows off the side of your house or a tree falls on it. You make sure you call Summit Adjusters before you call your insurance company. These guys are trained. They will get you the most for your repairs. They have a great working relationship with most of the insurance companies. So what they do is they come in there, they meet with the insurance company, they do all the work for you. You don't have to do anything. And let's face it, we all hate dealing with our insurance company. So if you have any home damage, whether it be wind or rain or a pipe breaks in your house, as we're getting that cold time of year, make sure you keep your thermostats up. You don't want a frozen pipe. So if you do, call Summit, 215-752-0560. Tell them that the chef sent you. You got it. Without any further ado, as we await the great Dan Silver, let's bring in from, writing for hockeyhotstove.com, I believe right now, but also from Off the Post podcast, Off the Post radio, I should say, also from sportsology.com, NHLdraftbuzz.com, and so many numerous outlets who can't even keep track. The great Russ Cohen joins us. Russ, welcome back.
Thanks, guys. Hey, I like the intro. For whatever reason, the drumming really stood out to me. Very precise, kind of Bill Bruford-y kind of drumming. I liked it.
That's my cousin.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Here's a fusion drummer. How do you like that?
Yeah. I could hear the fusion in there. That was good.
Yeah. So thanks. So, Russ, I mean, you've been following these prospects for so long. What's it, 20 years now, right?
Yeah. 2005 was my first one in Vancouver. Yep. First one I went to, I watched it probably 5-6 years after that because they never had it on TV here, but I used to follow it like as much as I could, but none of us could really keep up if you were in the United States. You just couldn't. It was hard.
Yeah, no, it wasn't available, and now you can't get the NHL Network if you have anything but cable practically.
Well, the reason to have cable.
Yeah, good reason
same here.
Cable. Yeah, well, if you're out of town, call Collect or a Sling or Fubo or whatever. But let me get your overview of how things are playing out in your opinion at the WJC. Some of the positives, negatives, or disappointments, or exceeding expectations, whatever, and then we'll kind of hone in on what the Flyers kids are doing.
All right. I mean, just as a whole, I really like what Sweden's doing. I thought they were going to have great puck moving defenders. Selenius, Wallin Selenius is terrific, and Selenius Wallin, sorry. And so he's just a great puck mover. Frundell is going to be one of the best players in the tournament. I love Eklund from the last World Juniors when I was covering, and he's even better now. Like, they just have a great blend of speed and size and skill, and they're my favorite. Like, they're the team I think that could win it. I know, it's not a popular pick, but I really do like the way they play. Canada, I do think they've been a little disjointed, and Dale Hunter's mixing the lines. Reminds me of Dave Cameron. I had mentioned Dave Cameron before. I was just doing it by mistake because, like, he's doing the same thing. But I guess when you take over the helm at Canada, it's what happens. Like, all of a sudden, panic sets in when things aren't going well. So I feel like they're having a little trouble. USA, they're not as good as they were last year or the year before. Could they have a three-peat? Sure, but I don't think so. I don't think their defense is good enough for the goaltending. It's not lockdown goaltending. So Czechia is tough, man. Czechia's got a lot of great players. Latvia has been a great surprise. Latvia has been like, Albert Smits is a top draft pick prospect, but the team just plays rock solid, hard. They don't care. They hit you and they ask questions later. And, they gave Canada all they could handle. Then the next night, not so great. Finland's good. Finland they're a little off. I like Rimpinen. Obviously, we'll talk about Flyers prospects there. But I don't know. I think they're missing a little something too. But they do play as a team, and that's something that Finland always does well. But then today wasn't so great for them. So
yeah, I hear you. So Dan, the great Dan Silver, joins us. The Cats are well fed, and we're glad to have you on the show. What are your thoughts about the WJC? Well, I switch up some equipment. Seems like I got a failure here with my earbud. You go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's great to see you guys, Russ, Chef, Isaiah. Happy holidays to everyone.
Yep,
Sorry,
you too.
Joining late. It's a busy work day, and then the Cats needed to be fed. But I think it's been a great World Junior Championship so far. And what really sticks out to me, and maybe Russ sort of talked about it, is how closely matched a lot of these teams are that haven't really been in the past, right? I know Latvia beat Canada last year in the qualifying round, but they again played them like very tough this year.
Did.
Finland is playing all these teams very tough. Right now, as we talk, Slovakia is beating the U.S. 4-3. And there's a lot of really good players on these teams. As Russ mentioned, Smits on Latvia is probably going to be a top 5, top 10 pick. A really good defenseman. It's just great seeing how the baseline for these teams that used to lose 8-1 against Canada and the US, these games are just been very competitive. And even Canada, who I think most people thought was sort of like, a notch above any other team in the tournament. Maybe you could argue Sweden was sort of there with them on paper, but Canada's had some really tough games so far. And it's great hockey to watch. Like, it's just so much fun watching these kids play, and it's been entertaining. I talked about this with Isaiah, and I don't have NHL Network during the course of the year because I cut the cord with cable. And so every time around this year, I pay up for Fubo and Sling TV, where you just get NHL Network for a month. So it's fun. It's like knowing these games are basically on all day long. You can just kind of have them on. You can focus on them when you want. You can watch them in the background. The Flyers have got some, decent prospects on a number of the teams, and so it's great. It's very competitive. It's funny. Obviously, but Czechia won in overtime today. Finland tied up the game with 20 seconds left, and then Adam Jiricek, who was not as highly thought of as his brother David, I think, and Russ could chime in, but I think right now most people probably consider Adam to be a better prospect. He's really developed very well, and David has sort of stagnated a little bit, but he scored a ridiculous between the legs goal in overtime to win that game. It's just fun watching these kids on the same ice that we never get to see playing together, and how competitive and fun it is.
Yeah, a couple things. Like, Adam was definitely a first-round talent. Many of us had him in the first round. The thing was, though, he had a lot of injuries, and so there was some risk there. But he can play. He's a better offensive player than David. David was just going to be like the full package, and it hasn't really come about. So we'll see if that ever happens or not. The other funny thing about this tournament is back when Canada was having Cale Makar on the third pairing, that was back when it was in Canada. It was at the Bell Center, and I want to say that was around 2012, 20. Was it 17? Yeah, probably 17. Sorry, not 2012. Yeah, 2017. Yeah, and Finland was almost relegated. Like, they had a bad tournament. They got rid of the coach, and they almost got relegated, but they did win that game to not get relegated. So it's like, even when you talk about like a team that gets relegated, like that was a situation where they almost got relegated. So, and who would think they would?
Yeah, absolutely. I was wondering who is your favorite player in this tournament before we get to the Flyers kids and all that. Like, so
who
far,
I think is the best or fun to watch?
Just fun to watch, or maybe a combo platter.
I'd say Anton Frundell. I mean, Frundell is just an absolute stud. He's got the size, he's got the shot, he's got this swagger. It's like, really, there's nobody in this tournament that could cover him, really. And so, like, he knows it and they know it. So, like, he's that guy when you get it to him on the power play, even if there's this much room in the corner, a little bit, he's hitting it.
Yeah, definitely.
Has he been playing center or wing mainly, Russ, in the tournament?
Wing.
I mean, he could be a scary winger for Connor Bedard, something, right?
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why he's doing that, because I think that is the plan. He was a center, but then they looked at it and said, if you want to play with Bedard, start playing on the wing. And I think that's the reason for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Chef, I wanted you to chime in because I know you've been watching a lot of these.
Yeah. No, that's all right. So if we're going to dive into some stuff, I was fascinated by Finland before the tourney started, because I thought they could, when we talked to everybody else out there and you're chatting out there on the interwebs, it was, Finland could have been the dark horse to do something. Now, and of particular interest, you have Westgard and you have Ronan now, I guess. So I guess there's no wrong way for me to butcher that name tonight. So, but anyway, so my question is this: is this a surprise to see how well they were playing? I guess before today's hiccup, but as we had stated before, and you'd sit on your show earlier today when I was listening to you and Rachel, they were the one that was playing most like a team through the whole thing. And I picked on that as well. I pretty much agree with a lot of stuff you guys said today. But so is it a surprise? One, is it a surprise? And is it a surprise because we weren't, Ronan's Heikki, or he's got a decent amount of points so far. He's probably up in the top 5 or whatever, or maybe. But is it a surprise even more so with him pouring on this offense that we really didn't expect out of him, I guess?
Well, so a couple things. With Ronan, I'm not surprised. Like, he was a real factor last year, and I saw, like, when I was there, he was a leader in the locker room, and so, like, none of this surprises me. He is a Johnny on the spot kind of guy. He can make that really good fast play, and the U.S. just tied it up, by the way. He can make that really good fast play, and he could really be a complimentary guy when he has to. He could be a little physical when he has to. He could be a jack of all trades. So in like a tournament like this, it's great. Now, what's funny is for Hockey Hot Stove, I wrote like 4 guys to watch in the World Juniors, and I didn't put guys like Cole Hudson, who's thankfully okay, and just didn't play today. But guys like that, I didn't put those guys. I put lesser known guys, right? So I did put Max Westergaard as one of those guys. And I'm a guy that really doesn't check comments, but one of them came to my inbox, and I had no idea that Hockey Hot Stove was going to deliver comments to my inbox. So I look at it for a sec because I didn't really know what it was. I click on it, and the guy goes, "Oh, look, you got a Flyers guy in your guys to watch. Yeah, that's realistic on this website." Like, basically saying it's a Flyers website, which it isn't. There's so many teams that are covered. And I laughed because like the day after that, he had like a 2-point game, and he's really good offensively. But what I've noticed is he has gotten faster even since camp.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so he's got another gear now where he's able to get around some of these defenders, and that is making all the difference. 2-on-1s, he can make a really good pass. He can take a good shot. He's not a star or anything, but in a tournament like this, he's really showing off. Like, he's showing well.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess the meat of the matter here is, how are the kids doing? And why don't we just go in order? So far, obviously, Canada is playing Denmark tonight in one of those games where they should be able to pad their stats. Remains to be seen. But with Canada, it's been a struggle. What have you seen from Porter Martone? Good, bad, or ugly?
Okay, so for Porter Martone, obviously the pat on the fanny was bad. You're the Canadian captain. You have to have some decorum. This isn't like even pickup hockey. Like, I'm not sure I've even seen that in a lot of other kinds of games that I've watched where you do that to the opponent. And again, when you do that to opponents from overseas, they take offense to that.
Yeah.
Like, this is mighty Canada. We know who we are, and now we're going to try even harder to beat your ass. Like, that basically is what happens when you do something like that. I understand Flyers fans like that because they think that's Flyerish. That's fine, but this is not the time for it. This isn't the tournament for it or the time, right? But he apologized. He did the right thing. I think he's still a character kid. The offense has not really been there. He scored an empty net goal. Okay. And he had a great scoring chance his last game. And when he was walking in on the doorstep, he ended up hitting the back of one of his players' skates, and he had a chance to lift that. And I was like, that's a little bit of a fumble. And so, like, he's played okay, but he has not played like a star. And Jett Luchanko is really just almost not even a rung up from where he was last year. Last year, he was like a fourth liner. He started this year on the third line on the wing. I think that's noticeable because, he's going to be an NHL center, but they couldn't even use him at center on this team. Now, it's an all-star team, but still, he's a returning player. So that's, but you say, okay, let's see how he plays. And he's definitely still, doing the shoot pass first thing. And he's not a big shooter, but he definitely needs to shoot more. We all know that. His passing's been good. His skating's been good, but he has not been able to really ignite any offense. He's been really good at penalty killing. But, like, if you were going to say, hey, the best thing I could say about Jett Luchanko is his penalty killing before the tournament started, everybody would grumble. But right now, that's kind of like where we're at.
Well, how does the incident with Martone like compare to? You had a lot of people you saw it on TV comparing it to the little chin scrub that Bedard did a couple years ago.
Yeah, it's Canada, right? Everybody's watching, so not the biggest deal in the world. Now, understand again, like, these are 18, 19-year-old guys in this tournament, and we all can remember back to when we're 18 or 19. But, like, my first one when I covered in 05, I forget what country it was, but there was a guy who, after this country lost and got eliminated, I interviewed with him, and I said, hey, what about that play against, and I think it was Canada, and he goes, oh, yeah, I took a run at that guy. I was trying to hurt him. Like, that was the quotes, and that was in the clips. There used to be clips back in the day, and, because nothing was electronic. The internet was there, but nothing was truly electronic. So it was still like the old newspaper clips. That made the clips. So it's not like things like this have never happened in this tournament. Of course they have.
Yeah, I don't think he needed to make this public apology, although
but I think that's why he's a character guy. I think that's a part of that.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think he did owe an apology to his teammates because he was just opening the door, even just a crack for a comeback in a game that was just back and forth, and you don't want to do that.
No.
So I agree with that. Listen, I got to say something, and Dan, you're next after me. Look, I never liked the Luchanko pick. I was always kind of like, wait and see. I think this is a kid that needs his game to be remade from the blue line in the offensive zone. I think up until he gets to the offensive zone, he's pretty good and kind of NHL ready. He's got the speed and all that. But They said, people said when he was drafted, oh, they drafted another Lawton. People said, no. He's better than Lawton. He should be better than that. But you know what happened with Lawton? He came up too early. They had to send him back down and kind of remake his game. I think Luchanko needs a lot of time in the AHL. I mean, at least a year and a half. I think he does. I just don't see anything offensively. And if I go back to that day, forget about Boehm. I mean, Hellenius was a better pick. And it really bothers me that at a position of need, that they're going to get a guy who seems like he has a real high floor in terms of making the league, but offensively, like, if he scratches 40 points, I don't know.
Well, I'll talk about Luchanko, but I mean, my guess is that, I don't know this at all, but my guess is that Porter Martone was told that he had to make that public apology. I mean, it's just sort of like, there's so much wokeness these days. It just, I don't know, sort of seems like that's the case. I love his swagger, Martone. I think it's sort of, Carter Gauthier has a lot of swagger, but I think Martone is a little more genuine about it, maybe. I don't know either kid, right? So, but I like Martone's swagger. I think it says a lot that on a team with so many good players, he was named captain. I mean, and you've got guys like Zane Parekh, Harrison Brunick, who have got, a decent slate of NHL experience, and they make Martone the captain. I think that's really telling. And he's a very good hockey player, right? Like it's fun watching him play. Certainly things he can still work on, but he should be an NHLer next year. I think he's a fun player. Luchanko is an interesting case. I kind of got into it a little bit with some guys on X about him recently.
Which is not hard to do, but yeah.
No.
Which is not hard to do. I wasn't even saying, I think he's a good hockey player. All I was saying is that, here's the thing. They all want to kind of defend it and talk about Bouillon and these are the same, and say that, Bouillon's a little overrated and these other teams didn't want him. However, if the Flyers had drafted Zeev Bouillon, maybe you could have Quinn Hughes on your team. Because I'll tell you this, the frickin' Calgary Flames the Vancouver Canucks certainly would not value Jett Luchanko the same way that they value Zeev Bouillon, right? And I think that there's a reason that almost all of the prospect pundits, and Russ would have more of a thought on this than me, but almost all of the prospect pundits had Bouillon way higher than Jett Luchanko. And I understand that there are some questions about if Zeev Bouillon's lack of foot speed will perhaps keep him from becoming, a top elite NHL defenseman. That's valid. But in the general consensus, he's thought of much, 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 much higher than Luchanko. So you could have used him as a trade bait, but I understand they're not necessarily thinking of it. Luchanko, I agree with Isaiah that he just needs to, I think the Flyers brass was not happy with his usage with Team Canada in the last World Juniors. And I think they put a lot of pressure on Team Canada this time around. Luchanko should be on your team and his usage should change. And despite that, they still don't have him playing center. Like, I think the Flyers very, very much want Luchanko to become the guy that they think he is. I mean, Danny Briere talked about it from the start, from when they drafted him. He's a center. This kid's a center. Everything about him screams center. That's what Briere has said all along.
No, he's right about that.
And he could be right. Yeah,
but he couldn't. But he still is not a good enough center to be one of the Team Canada centers on this team. I mean, they've got him playing the wing. Say.
So here's a couple of things. Sorry, Dan, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No. Go ahead.
Okay, so here's a couple of things. With Zeev Bouillon, I think he'll be fine with his speed. His edge work is already elite, and he's only 3 points behind Jamie Drysdale in his rookie year, right? So I think he's gonna be okay as far as defenseman. But even if you got away from that, saying Konsta Helenius, listen, if he got picked there, it would have been a great pick. He was AHL Player of the Year last year. He's a terrific player. He probably could play in the NHL right now, but they're letting him over marinate, and that's fine. And he's having another good year. I do think Luchanko is a 2-year AHL guy. I know people didn't want to believe that. I know people wanted to ride that wave that Torts was almost willing to ride last year coming out of camp, and that would have been horrific for him.
Oh,
and,
God.
And Danny saved him on that. So you got to give him credit. But I also think Danny, when he drafted Luchanko, he was a new GM, and he was like just out there and scouting and, probably got a little carried away. Do I think he's going to be an NHL center? Yeah, absolutely. And I think he's a second-line center. I don't think he has any chance of being a first-line center. But I think he's a second-line center. I don't think he's tremendously offensive, but I think he could probably get 50 points in his best year. Maybe he'll get 55. But he's got great speed, and there are these other things. But he has to put it together, and he does. I don't think his game needs to be rebuilt, Isaiah, but it still needs to be refined. And yes. I think that's where he's kind of at. So I think the same way everybody wanted to anoint Alex Bump, and that was wrong too, it's the same for Jett Luchanko.
And he's only 20. Everybody forgets. He's 20 years old, for God's sakes, right? I mean, they have people already.
You're talking about Bump, right?
Luchanko, is it?
No, he's younger than 20.
He's 19.
He's not even 20 yet.
Not even 20. He was one of the younger players in the draft.
That's right.
He had a lot of runway, and yeah.
But it's still like you have people calling him a bust already.
He's not.
It's ridiculous.
He's not a
expectations.
Bust. I just don't think he should have been taken with that particular pick in that draft. That's all.
I think that's fair to say. And Dan,
that's a fair assumption,
just to answer, if the Flyers called Dale Hunter and asked him to do something, I don't think he'd care. Dale Hunter doesn't care what you or I think or what the Flyers think. He's going to do what he's going to do. So I don't even think that matters.
But the Flyers greatly respect Dale Hunter's opinion to the point that they specifically target guys from that program because of Dale Hunter. And Dale Hunter, I know, but Dale Hunter, who they clearly respect a lot, has made the decision that on this team, Luchanko is not a center. So I think that Luchanko is a good hockey player. He's got 4 goals in the OHL this year. 4. I mean, at some point, he's got to shoot the puck. I mean, you're saying you think he's going to be a second-line NHL center, maybe, but
because I think he'll get over the shooting thing. But I do think it's something right now. But I see all the other things that are there that need to get put together. So, but I think he's going to. I think he's eventually going to be like a 1.5 to 2 year AHL player too, and I'm fine with that. People should not want to rush him. Everybody develops at a different pace, honestly.
Yeah, he's a good player, but I just am not sure that he is what the Flyers, I feel like, are trying to tell people that he is going to become.
No, I think that's valid. I think that's valid, and I thought they kind of shot too high with what they were saying projection-wise at the beginning too. But I think part of the reason they did that was because they figured, look how young this guy is. And based on this extra runway, look what he's going to do. And so far, you could say that he hasn't really lived up to that. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Denver Barkey. And my whole thing is like, I think, gun to my head right now, I think Denver Barkey has a better NHL career than Jett Luchanko. And they took Jett Luchanko 12th, and they took Denver Barkey 95th. So I just think that those kinds of players you can get a little bit later in the draft than when they took Luchanko.
I would never argue with you. I felt that way, on draft day, and not just me, somebody else asked me what I was kind of surprised at in that draft. So, but the point with Barkey is, just imagine if he was physically stronger, and that's why he has to go back down, because he needs to get phically stronger, because guys.
Luchanko or Barkey?
No, Barkey. Barkey's got all that up, but also remember, they do shelter him. When I looked on Instat a few weeks ago, he was at 89% offensive zone starts, and he's probably more than 60 or 70 with the Flyers for offensive zone starts, because he's an offensive machine, but he does need to round out his game, and he does need to get physically stronger. So he needs a little more AHL time, but he's not going to need a ton more, but he does, like, he could put on 6 pounds of muscle, it would really help him.
I mean, it sounds like Tocchet doesn't want Barkey to go back down at this point.
Again, but he's going to fall into that torch trap. You can't leave him up the way he is right now. He is not an NHL.
He'll end up getting hurt.
Right. Tocchet likes the spark. I get it. He did already get nicked up.
I get hurt. Yeah.
Yeah,
that wasn't nicked. that was pretty brutal cross check.
Shellacked. And so, like, that's why you can't. I get it. It's almost a little bit of an indictment of the Flyers how badly Tuckett uses Barkey, because he is that offensive spark, and he does do things in the offensive zone that some of their players don't do.
Well, Russ, I think it's more than that. I think the fact that Barkey instinctively understands what to do with the puck in every zone. I'm not saying he makes a great play every time.
Defensively, I don't think he does. I think I've seen him. He's been on the ice for some goals. I think defensively he's got more to learn. But everything
more
else,
advanced. It's crazy. Like, his details are so
good.
developed, and it's only going to get better. So yeah, I agree. And totally. Like, if he gets stronger, I was kind of doubting, but when I see how he dots every I, crosses every T, goes in the corner, and is able to win puck battles against guys that outweigh him by like 30 pounds, it's crazy. It's crazy.
I haven't noticed Van Sagi all that much in the.
Well, because they only played him for like 7 minutes in one game and didn't play him in the other. And I've had the sound off for this one. I don't think he's in there, but I don't know for sure.
Hagen's just scored again. I think it's 5-4.
Well, how could Hagens keep scoring like this? I thought he wasn't supposed to be a star.
Yeah, he scored 18 seconds into the third.
Do you know how much the Bruins are going to be laughing down the line with James Hagens falling in their lap?
Player.
He's a really good player, guys. Like, that whole thing was just weird.
Well, is he a center? That's the thing. Will he be a center?
Yes,
That's what supposedly was the real test.
Yes,
but
he is a center.
And plus, the other thing with guys like Martone, they generally take longer in terms of figuring out.
Generally, I don't think he's going to. But
I think his skating and
it's not 100%. So, like, if he comes in at the end of the year and plays like 5, 6, 7, whatever amount of games he can get in. I mean, Michigan State could go all the way, and if they do, then he doesn't play anything. Maybe he just plays AHL. But he can come in, play some games. Definitely needs to work on the skating in the offseason. Definitely needs to get stronger because of the kind of game he plays. But then, he'll try and get a job next year, and he should. Like, he'll sign right after. But it's not a guarantee he's going to sign, though. Again, if they just miss out on the championship with the players they have and players incoming, it's possible he could go back for another year. It's not him. And if I were on the Flyers, I would not be worried about this being like cut or go, Jay. Every situation is different. And so I would just talk to him. And if that's what he wants, I would not try and push him the other way.
Yeah, I think he wants to be a Flyer, but
he does today, but you never know what happens when things start happening in season, when it's,
Yeah. And he's that age, going to be capricious.
He is that age, and they get very bonded. And, Van Sagi is clearly, nowhere near the NHL. So he's, he might stay another year or two, and that could play into it. Like, you never know.
It feels like the Flyers will do everything in their power to make sure that Martone plays for them.
Oh, he's got to play for them. Yeah. I don't think there's any question about it. It's just when.
Exactly. Let's talk about Jack Berglund. What have you seen so far? I like the player. Just that it's the ceiling that I really have no clue about.
Yeah, well, the thing about Berglund is I saw this past camp, and this is, again, when you play overseas and you play against men, that he was more physically advanced than really anybody his age in camp. And you could see when he's playing against guys his age, he is more physically advanced. And so that helps him a lot in a tournament like this. And so his offense looks a little better than what it might be down the line in a tournament like this. But it's okay. Everything else is good. His faceoffs are good. His defense is good. His skating's getting better. It needs to still get a little better. But I think he's a third-line center, maybe with a second-line upside. But I think that's what he is, because he is going to be a rugged guy who will do a lot of things out there for you in a game. So I liked him as a pick. I saw what he was made of when we all got stranded for a while after the draft. Our planes were running late and everything, and he was on the plane, and Austin Moline was on the plane, and we chatted for a while. And I could tell. I said, "Hey, this kid's mature." And you don't get captaincy of Team Sweden if you're not mature. So no, there's a lot to like there. I think he'll be a good NHLer. Not a great one, but a good one.
Yeah. Chef?
Well, I don't think he's got as far. I didn't catch any of the games today or anything, and I don't know. I actually don't. I got them all taped, and I whizzed through them on, without the commercials. But what I've seen from him, he's great away. He does everything right away from the puck. I don't think he's had any scores yet, right?
No,
He got two today. He got two.
I missed today. Okay, that's what I'm saying. So that's a good thing then. So that's good. It was something I was hoping that we'd see more of. He would shine a little bit, especially. But another thing is I just want to bring up, because I think there's 4 to 6 prospects, I think, that the Flyers have, all wearing letters, right? Aren't there?
I think 3 of them are wearing letters.
3 are, for sure.
3? That's 2 C's and an A, right? Yeah. So that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's good.
For the leadership. So my question is, I guess, leading up to it, do you think that when they scouted these players that they were looking for these specific leadership qualities? It seems like their this last crop of drafts have very high IQ guys and very high character guys, I should say.
Yeah, I think they were looking for a fair amount of that. But again, you could get high character guys like Scott Lawton, and they're going to be nice NHLers, but never get really over 35 points, right?
Yeah.
So there's a line that you have to draw on that. But if they could play like these guys and have that, well, then that's really something special, and that's what you're looking for, and that's and that's what you see in these guys. Remember, it's nice to have all these guys in the tournament. The Sabres have a ton of guys. I think they have 6.
Wow.
They're still the Sabres. So it's never the full indicator of how things are going to be.
I mean,
they've won 8 in a row. So, I mean, there's really, somebody's going to have to break them up
they're
pretty soon.
A little better. Yeah. I don't know if it'll last, but they're getting better.
I think when you look at Berglund, Luchanko, and Nesbitt, that there's a reasonable chance that one of those guys becomes a pretty good second line NHL center, right? I don't think that we would look at any of those 3 guys and say, hey, we've got our 1C of the future there, right? But I think with Berglund and Nesbitt, you've got 2 big, skilled, toolsy guys who have time to work on their skating, and you just hope that one of those guys can become a 2C, 3C. And then we talked about Luchanko, right? I feel fairly confident that one of those 3 guys will develop into a second line NHL center. You're just kind of throwing.
I don't know if Nesbitt will be a second line center. I know he'll be a really good third line center. If Nesbitt is a second line center, maybe he'll be like a Jordan Stahl type, where he's like, good, but he's not great. Because I don't think he's good.
Going into the draft.
Yeah, but was he ever a second line center? I always looked at him
Chicago's
as
Cup winner. I think they're 13. I think.
Okay, I mean,
we don't have Patrick Kane or Jonathan Toews,
right?
Or don't
ruin it. Okay,
But going into the draft this year, the kid that I really liked more than Nesbitt was Cole Reshny, and the Flyers.
So let's talk about Cole Reshny.
The Flyers really coveted Jack Nesbitt. They traded 2 draft picks, good and high NHL draft picks, to trade up to get Nesbitt. Reshny goes a little bit later to Calgary, I believe. And Reshny, he looks, Reshny sort of reminds me, he's got a little bit of Claude Giroux in him, and he's been really good in the tournament. So Russ, what are your thoughts on Reshny? Would you have preferred him to Nesbitt? Like, what do you think about him?
Yes, I would have, and I wouldn't have had to trade up to get him and all of that. I think you could have worked it out, or at least you wouldn't have had to trade a first. That's for sure. So Reshny wanted to play badly for the Flyers. I mean, that's what he told me. He said it straight to me. Yeah, at the combine, he loved his interview. He really liked it. I thought they were going to take him. I did, and they didn't. I thought they were going to take a shot at Victor Eklund, and they didn't. And I was surprised, because that was a guy who I heard that they really, really liked. And of course, what's not to like, right? But with Reshny, I think he'll be a center. I still think there's a question about that. But I do think he will be. But everything is looking good for him. But the problem is the Flyers were definitely looking for size, and they're still looking for more size. So, like, would they ever have drafted James Higgins? Probably not, because they were looking for size. So Reshny falls under that same thing. And even though Higgins is a little bigger than Reshny, bigger around the neck, a little inch taller, whatever, the Flyers were just in that mode where they weren't going to take those guys, not with high picks. And so, like, yes, you've got Nesbitt, who definitely will be physical, and he's going to be a terrific skater, and once in a while flashes you some good hands and everything, but I don't think he's a top-notch offensive player. Like, if Cole Reshny was 6'2", he would be a 10 times better player than Jack Nesbitt offensively. Like, there's just not even a question about it. You could see Cole Reshny's drive when he's playing. It's insane. It's a little Konechny-like with the drive that he has. I'm a little smaller.
He's Giroux's height and weight. He's 5'11".
Yeah. If he's 5'11". He might be now. I don't think he was at the draft. But the point is, I just don't think they would have taken him, but he wanted to be a Flyer in the worst way and had no bones about it. So did Joshua Ravensburger. He wanted to be too. So, for what that's worth.
Yeah, we're just got to wait and see how it all turns out, because it's easy to look at the past drafts and second guess. But I think it's valid if you said at the time you're really not sure about this, you're kind of uneasy, like I said about Luchanko. So that's why I decided to say what I said.
I said the same thing about Nesbitt, and there was definitely big question marks over some people's heads when the Flyers made that pick. There's no question about it. And so, yeah, I think, though, the dream is if we could have a guy like Martone and a guy like Nesbitt, and you have that size, that we could really, dominate in the future. And, again, at that draft, I was busy putting up an interview from Martone, but things were like a little behind and everything. And so maybe it wasn't Martone, it might have been Higgins, somebody, right? And I had my head down. But Martone knew that I covered the Flyers, and he said, "Hey, the Flyers just traded for a pick," and so we were kind of going back and forth, like who they're going to take. And when they took Nesbitt, I got a quote from him instantly because he was standing next to me. We were watching the same monitor to see who the Flyers picked. But if Martone didn't say that to me, I wouldn't have found out for another minute or two because I was busy posting, like I was trying to get content out. So it just shows you like what Martone's like. And Martone really likes Nesbitt. Like, so there'll be something there with those two. I just don't know if they'll play on the same line.
And if you remember, Matthew Schaefer had that interview where he was asked who the biggest horse that he's played against is, who the thoroughbred is, the toughest guy to play against. And he said Jack Nesbitt. So clearly there's a lot of upward mobility and runway for Nesbitt.
There is.
It's just,
he's not
I don't think people were expecting him to put up big numbers this year, but it's been pretty underwhelming, I would say, what he's done so far this year.
We'll give him time.
Yeah, exactly. So he's going to take time. So like I said, I think one of him, Berglund or Luchanko, should develop into a good NHL 2C. I don't know.
Listen, if Berglund gets to 2C, I'm not going to be shocked because I've seen, how this guy is moving up, and maybe he'll take people like surprise, like Aho took people by surprise,
Mm-hmm. Where does that put Ronan then? Does he move the wing? Do you think, Russ?
No, but he probably could play both. At that time when Ronan makes it, he might be a 4C. And again, I think we're seeing a shift with most teams, and you finally saw one with the Flyers where the teams are trying to get more offensive on the fourth line because let's face it, it could be a hard league to score goals in.
Yeah.
And so
what line are we talking about?
Ronan.
That's
the new pronunciation,
Ruohonen.
By the way.
Yeah,
okay.
It's no longer Ruohonen.
The Finnish kid that the Flyers got.
Yeah. So I think if if the team's really good, he may end up being a 4C, but that's okay. I mean, you can go look at Dave Boland, guys like that. There were some real good 4Cs on some real good teams, so it's not a bad thing.
Mhm. So, Russ, before we let you go, we got to get your opinion on what the parent club is doing. And I think we have this situation where there's actually like two trade deadlines. There's one between now and the Olympic break, and then there's that short period after the Olympic break until March 7th, when the trade deadline comes up. Do you think the Flyers are going to do anything like maybe get a player like Wenberg to improve their center situation in case there's an injury?
I don't think they're going to go end up doing something like that. Like, they'll do something now for Zamula, but I don't know what they'll really get for Zamula. Probably will just be a Lehigh player at this point, because everybody knows that they're probably going to void his contract, like Elliot Friedman said. So I think the problem is this is like the first year of Torts, and they added Zegras, which is good. So they added a lot of offense, and they added more goaltending. There's no question Dan Vladar is an upgrade to what they've had. The question is, what will he look like in game 40? Because he's never played more than 30. And so, like, that's a question for down the line. And so I think the problem is, I think the Flyers are going to max themselves out. I think Rick Tocchet's going to max certain guys out before then. Couturier. Sanheim is already like 11th in the league in shifts. And he's played 2 to 4 games less than some of the other guys in the top 10. And so that's not a great sign, because he's not a true number one. And he's played over 40.4%. Money Puck has this share time on the ice, which is a lot. So let's say he goes to the Olympics. Is he going to come back and be just as sharp down the stretch? I don't know about that. I think there's going to be a similar problem with that. And then, Couturier is definitely going to not be able to play what he's doing now, and he's already started to tail off a little bit, to be honest. So I think, they'll stay in contention to some degree, but I don't look at them making the playoffs, even if they make a move, because I just feel like they're not there yet. And Dvorak has definitely filled a void, like you said, at center. So that's why they're looking to extend him, because now they realize Luchanko probably isn't going to be there next year. And the free agent market that they were banking on a year ago is no longer there. Is no longer there because of the cap going up. Everybody pretty much re-signed except for Tuck and Panarin. So I think they still have to go the course, and I don't think they should go heavy into the deadline. And honestly, if they want to re-sign Dvorak, that's fine. I wouldn't give him more than 3 years. 4 would be max. I know he's only 30, but he's not the fastest player, and you don't want to run into that problem. But I think he'd be a good add, because look what happened when he's out of the lineup. Like, they're a completely different team, because Trevor Zegras can't play center. And the other thing that I had said is, let's say Zegras is a point-a-game guy for this year. There was going to be times when he can't carry the load, because he's just not going to be able to have points in 9 games all the time. Who's filling that void? We haven't seen that yet. Konechny hasn't.
Good point.
Right. Well, he's actually starting to increase his production,
He's
and
increasing.
maybe because he has been underwhelming up
But
until
he's still frustrated. Like, you could see in games, he's still frustrated when he's not scoring.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. You keep hearing been linked now with Ryan Hartman again. That's
I don't know if
there.
that's real.
Please tell me that's not true, because it already threw like a third of the Flyer fan base into a tizzy.
Yeah,
and I can't take, if they do make the trade, that like 80% of the fan base will be.
I think they'll be mad because they had him and it didn't work out, but I don't think they utilized him right that first time. I like him as a guy. I think some of that scoring was a little bit jacked up when he had that big year, but he could be an effective player. But at the end of the day, I don't think that's going to happen. I just think that's one of those things that's just getting talked about, because everybody figures, well, if the Flyers trade Brink, where's Brink going to go? Well, they'll go to Minnesota because he's from Minnesota. Yeah, okay. The other thing is, though, the Flyers power play. Like, when are you going to stop relying on Owen Tippett, who has very few points on the power play? Sanheim has almost no points on the power play. Like, there's other guys, like, you can say what you want about, and I still think Michkov should get more minutes. But if nothing else, he should be on power play 1 all the time. And he should be playing around the net, behind the net, not up high. He shouldn't be playing his offside. He's playing his offside at times. Like, I didn't think he was going to have a 80-point year this year. When I was asked on Locked On Flyers what I thought he would do, I said I thought he would improve upon his year from last year a little bit. But at this rate, he's not going to. But if you play him on power play 1, like a Demidov, like they're doing in Montreal, it makes a difference. So I don't know. I don't know if that'll happen this year, but he should be, because he's only getting like one of those power plays the other against Seattle. He had like 18 seconds, like literally just 18 seconds, and he created a scoring chance in 18 seconds.
Yeah, that's because like that power play 1 drags out way too long with just passing, and then the second unit usually gets maybe 32 seconds, maybe
that's
40.
The max they get. 32.
And then
on scraps.
Yeah, and I think it was average, because I think I tracked it on a couple of games. I'm like, they're only out there for like 32 seconds. So and it's just factoring in, and then it looks great because they're passing it around, they're moving it, but nobody wants to.
If you don't score, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
When
their defense, I feel like, is the best it's been in a long time. You're really six deep. I mean, Drysdale and Andre have been really good together, and York and Sanheim are good, and Sealer and who's the other one? Risto, right? And Risto, we've got a very solid D right now, 6 deep with Vladar and net and those D. But the problem still remains: none of those D have stepped up to become an aggressive power play point guy.
Absolutely.
And that's a big problem. I mean, it's a big problem. Drysdale's 5-on-5 play has gotten much better this year. And I
absolutely,
think
much better.
York is taking a bit of a step
the other night. But look, he got 23 minutes. It's too much for Drysdale against Seattle. That was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and York has taken a bit of a step up offensively, but still he's not showing the initiative that we need. And that's why, getting a guy like Quinn Hughes would have made such a difference. I still think at some point, if they want this power play to get out of the basement where it has just been, you're going to need to have someone who can show that initiative from the point. And maybe one of these guys develops into it. I still think in the past 2 years, the best stretch of power play D work they had was during Emil Andre's 5-game stretch where he was just incredible. He has the aggressiveness necessary.
And a shot that gets through. Both.
He does. But they just haven't given him many looks.
They don't trust him for that.
No, not yet. But so I think they're gonna have to
I do too. I think that's
out. And it's sort of one of the frustrating things is that, I think we're all happy that the team is a lot better this year, but there are 3 very good D-men that are going to be available in the top 5 picks in the draft with, Keaton Verhoff and Smits, and is it Chase Reed, the kid from the
Chase
US?
Reed just elbowed somebody in the face. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, so you talk about those 3 guys, any one of them could be a number 1 defenseman, but I mean, we're probably not going to have a shot at any of them. So
not if you're drafting 10th or 11th.
Not if you're in the playoffs. I mean,
or if you're in the playoffs, forget it.
Right.
You're not getting anywhere close to that. But if they're going 10 or 11, you're not getting any of those guys.
I just don't know where they find that player.
You got the trade.
Find them in the draft. So
maybe you wait until you have Toronto's top 3 pick in 2028.
Well, Zabragin will be here. It'll be a whole new team.
Really?
Russ, what can you tell the folks about where they can check out your work and where to find you on social media?
Well, you said Hockey Hot Stove, sportsology.com, NHLDraftBuzz.com. Elite Prospects, I just did a really big article on Tynan Lawrence, who I think is a top 5 pick in this draft. Will be at the Chipotle All-American game. Middle of the month, I'll be there, so it'll be fun seeing him. Off the Post Radio, Go GTS. There's a collectible site, so I do other sports besides hockey, but talk about some of the youngsters and the collecting world in that too.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us tonight, and make sure you catch them on one of those outlets.
Yeah,
thanks guys. All right,
enjoy the rest of the tournament.
You take care.
I will. All right, see you.
All right, right. Okay, so for the folks expecting Anthony DeMarco from dailyfaceoff.com, Anthony incurred a back injury. He's kind of bedridden right now. We're sending out good thoughts and wishes. He's not even writing right now, apparently. So, yeah, he got in touch with me this afternoon, and it's a shame because we got a lot to deal with the Flyers, a lot of news out there. And Dan, let me hit you with this. Just a little housekeeping here. The Flyers have gone 2-1 since our last show. They're 19-11-7 for 45 points through 37 games. And I believe they're still hanging on to that third spot in the Metro Division.
Yes.
It's so tenuous. It could change
Any second.
every day. So anyway, the trade freeze is over. Both Vladar and Dvorak were day-to-day with injuries, and now everybody's healthy. Even Barkey got back, Sanheim got back, and I think that's where we're at right now. What I mean, you made some good points about the Flyers, about where they're at right now relative to expectation. Maybe you want to expand on that.
Yeah, it's they're the problem right now. Is the same thing we've talked about for a long time. The power play is not anywhere near close to be a game breaker, difference maker in close games. Their offensive guys are not scoring. And it means like a game like last night against Seattle, I thought they played a pretty good hockey game, except for they couldn't score. And Travis Konechny had a number of good scoring opportunities. Sean Couturier had a number of good scoring opportunities. These guys cannot score. And I understand that, Tocchet doesn't want to, for some reason, put Michkov on that top power play unit. I think he should be on that unit. Even strength, you've got three fairly balanced lines. Like, I don't necessarily think they need to put Michkov on one of the other lines, but you've got to find a way to generate more offense. And my Konechny theory is that the last few years he's come out like gangbusters early in the year, and then he's kind of really slowed down as the year has gone on. I wonder if he is sort of intentionally not pushing it quite as hard early on in the season to try and save more down the stretch. So I'm really kind of interested to see how Konechny does the rest of the season. But you're going to have to get more offense out of somewhere on this team. And if it's not going to be the power play, some of these guys have got to start scoring. Otherwise, I think that they might start fading a little bit down the stretch if you can't score goals. So to me, that's the thing, right? I mean, I would, because the way I look at it, when you look at the Eastern Conference, other than I guess Carolina, who can't the Flyers beat in a 7-game series, a 5 or 7 game series? Like, I think this is a year where the Flyers could conceivably make a deep run in the playoffs, surprise some people.
Yeah,
that could be really fun. And so that's kind of what I'm hoping happens. And then if they fall a little bit apart, maybe you have a chance at getting one of these top defensemen in the draft. But I just wish they could find a way to figure out the power play. We've been saying that for 4 years now. So that's kind of one of my hopes, and I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think the problem is that they're not jamming in that still. They don't. I mean, one of the things about Martone that will help, he plays in front of the net and he has good hands. Like JVR had real silky smooth hands around the net, but he wasn't as aggressive as Martone appears to be. And that is something I'm looking forward to. You look down the road, guys like Nesbitt is really good around the net with his hands. And they need more of those players. To me, the point guy that you spoke about earlier, we definitely need that player. The Flyers need that player, but we need their net front presence. They just don't have it right now. There are players like Forster can do that. Tippett is starting to open up the door and dip his toe a little bit in that, but not enough. And they're really small right now with Forster out of the lineup, and they're still playing too much on the perimeter. When you have guys like Noah Cates in there, and he's the one getting his nose dirty, or Brink sometimes on occasion.
Just going to bring that
it's getting in dirty areas. I mean, this is what the big issue is for me in terms of them not getting some of those extra goals, the power play goals, and it's really hurting them. So, and also
Isaiah
down the road that they are going to run out of steam because we don't know what Vladar is going to provide, and because that's untested. And I think Tocchet has to be more economical in his usage of certain players that we talked about earlier. And this is one of the reasons I think the Flyers are going to go out and try to get some kind of center to safeguard against them collapsing. And they don't want, I think this year, I think Jason Martinez spoke to this. They don't want this year, if they're close enough, they're not going to do the Sean Walker thing, right? And Chef, I'll get to you next. I think they want to try and hang in there unless they really just, crater. I think they're going to try and maybe add pieces that will very least kind of give them a safety net in case they have injuries in key positions. Chef, what do you think?
Well, I think you spoke to a lot on the whole getting in front of net front presence. Because if you look, when especially, and we mentioned, I was going to bring up Noah Cates seems to be the one going there, but that's not his job. That's not what he should be doing. It should be the other players. But more importantly, when Michkov is in a little bit of a drought, but when he's had success, guess where he's been? Around the net. And I think he needs to recapture that. And there was a couple of times in last night's game where he had a very good look twice. I made notes about it. Once in the first and once in the second, where he should have shot. He should have shot the puck. He had a clear, and he does have a decent shot. So he could definitely beat goalies. And I think that's where he's going to have to start small in order to get that touchback, because he passing it, and I think JJ even said it on the telecast, and maybe it was Bush. They're like, he just doesn't have the confidence. He should be shooting that puck at the same time. So I think that you got to get those dirty goals to get your confidence back, and that goes for like 3 or 4 players too.
Yeah, I agree. So Elliot Freeman's been in the news a couple times with a few reports, including this morning, about the Flyers are in serious discussions, thinking about re-upping Christian Dvorak. They have such an obvious need at center, and he's had such a salutary effect with Zegras. So the synergy there is there between them. So a guy who's going to turn 30 in February, that's worthy of some discussion, whether the Flyers would be well advised to do that or ill-advised. Freach also mentioned that they are in contract talks with Zegras. Apparently people flicked out and said, no, we got to sign Zegras first. Now, one doesn't necessarily, have to do with the other, at least in terms of commitment, number of contracts and all that. There's just no centers out there. If they can get him on like 3 or 4 years, I don't know if he'd go for that. I would imagine Dvorak would want 5 years at a minimum. I'm not going to argue that out. I understand why they want Dvorak. He likes being here. He's synergistic with Zegras, and it's not going to affect how much Zegras makes. If anything, it would be a positive to have Dvorak, inked up. If they're going to go with Zegras, he's got a buddy there. So, Shep, maybe want to comment on that.
Yeah, if anything, I think it would help both their numbers go up. You get comfortable with somebody, I just feel that long term, you got to start making players feel comfortable too. You can't be jumbling up their, pairings or lines all the time. Just settle in. But the fourth line we haven't talked about, and they settled in very nicely. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, when will is Gordon Hathaway going to be somebody who? I don't think they'd waive him. I don't know what his contract is. If he has, I think he does have some kind of move or trade or something going on there.
Yeah, because of his age, I do believe he has. So, but either way, I mean, with Hathaway,
no, he doesn't.
Unless somebody gets hurt, I don't see him.
Well, he'll get back in there just if somebody gets hurt or somebody's slumping like Gurbenkin.
But right now,
I went back and forth with somebody. Gurbenkin doesn't know what to do with the puck. Why he didn't establish a spot is he's in the neutral zone or D zone. He doesn't know what to do with the puck, and they had to coach him up, and now he's looking better. And so Zamula, we talked about him last time. He wants out. He got waived, and he's an NHL guy. But when they brought up Murchison, Dan, I mean that was clear that Egor Zamula is not long for the Flyers. the rumor out there is that Danny Briere wants some kind of asset for him. They don't just want to terminate the contract, because if they do have a rash of injuries on defense, they would like a more experienced body.
Well, hopefully if they want to get an asset for him, they should find a way to remove all video footage of him that exists out there, because I don't know what NHL team is going to pay you a legitimate asset for him. I mean, we've talked about it on the show. I mean, his foot speed he's so slow. I just don't know how he is a reliable NHL defenseman for a team that really needs that, right? So we'll see what happens with him. But
don't forget, we still have Noah Juleson.
He's kind of like Zamula is kind of like a less athletic, worse skater than Philippe Myers. Is kind of like they're both, I feel like, fairly low IQ, hockey IQ players who are just don't look that natural to me when I watch out there. And he's not as good a skater as Myers was, and he's, they're both tall kids. Neither of them were drafted. That's probably part of why I make that comparison, is that neither guy was drafted. And if you've got a 6'4" defenseman that's not drafted, there's probably a reason for it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So around the horn here, I'll start with you, Chef. Are the Flyers going to make a trade before February 4th, which is the unofficial first trade deadline, or will they try and squeeze something in before March the 7th? What say you?
That's a tough one, because I would have thought that they're coming back. If they don't do something within the next week, I don't think they're going to do anything until March, until after the Olympic break. I just don't see it, because I think they want to address it now. They want that person to be with the team for the Olympic break, so that way you get some kind of unity. That's what I think a lot of teams will be making moves within the next 2 weeks, because you want those trades to be secure, so that when teams are away on Olympic break, your newly acquired players can be assimilated with the team. That's my opinion.
Okay, Dan, what's your thought?
I mean, certainly don't think there's going to be any major trades that are going to happen with the Flyers prior to that date. Could be wrong. Briere's certainly done a lot of surprising things, but I feel like they're in a reasonably decent spot right now to kind of wait until the second deadline, the actual trade deadline, before deciding what to do. So I wouldn't anticipate anything major. Maybe they trade Zamula for a 5th round pick or a 6th round pick, right? Like maybe something like that. But I don't know if I necessarily see something major happening before this upcoming February deadline.
Okay. So according to Money Puck, as of Sunday, so it was before the Seattle game, the Flyers had a 55.9% chance of making the playoffs. I'm sure that's been altered since last night's game. This is the only thing I have in my notes here. So we'll keep a tab on that. Go to moneypuck.com. It has the playoff odds. So the Flyers play a back-to-back the next 2 nights, real late, 10 o'clock, Vancouver rematch. Then the next night in Calgary at 9:30. Then they play Saturday in Edmonton in the afternoon, 3:30. Then they are back home versus Anaheim. Yeah, we're going to get to Jeer Cutter again on January the 6th. And then we are back with you on January 7th for a mid-season review and a WJC wrap-up.
Yeah.
And we have a really good guest for that. So before we leave, I think, especially in light of what we were not able to do last week, just to handle some of these comments, we talked about the Devo extension. So Vineet Singh, thanks for chiming in with that. And Dvorak, Miller, Brad, I'm honestly good with any of these 2 options of signing Devo, trade him for assets, or give him 3 years, max $6 million. Well, I think he's going to want another year, and we might have to live with that because there's just no centers out there. Flannel_Friday. Is it fair to question the Flyers' ability to evaluate and draft at the center position? They just seem to like they love to draft third line centers.
You've said that before, Isaiah, or similar.
I just that might be the comment of the night. I'll leave it.
No. I think Vinette Singh, 5822, said it about Zamula. His foot speed is still faster than his brain speed, though.
Yeah. But he also said, again, it would be fair. It would be fair if they were clearly wrong on any center they drafted. Still too early on Luchanko, Berglund, Ronan. Now I keep thinking that movie with Robert De Niro. That was the last great movie you made, by the way. And Nesbitt. I'll tell you what, I am out on Luchanko as a second line center. I disagree with Russ. I think he's a third line center. I just don't see any offense. And it's very rare that guys who are in their draft year +1 are as productive or lack the productivity that all of a sudden turn on and become a great player. And Dan, yeah.
He has 4 goals. 4 goals in the OHL. I mean, come on.
I think he'll make the league because of his speed and his smarts. But as an offensive player, I just don't see it. I think he's like when people he was drafted, they said he was Lawton. And I see a very similar player.
There's a reason. Again, there's a reason that almost every prospect pundit had him way lower than the Flyers took him.
Late first, early
They're
second.
not all idiots. Some of them may be idiots, but
yeah. So Martone, Forster, and Barkey should be all on the club next year. Barkey, I'm really not sure. I mean, if he incurs an injury and it looks like had he been a little stronger, I just want to be.
He was saying next year, though. He was saying next year. Maybe they got to clear space, and
and that would mean that Brink is out of here. So
or tip it,
preferably tip it.
Or tip it.
I don't think they want to go that small. If they're going to move Tippett, they're going to get a defenseman or a center, But
I'm fine with that.
Barkey
I'm fine with that.
Lineup, and Konechny and Michkov. No,
nobody else can play. I will go with the guy if he's willing to. If the 5'7" guy is willing to go to the dirty areas, then fine, give it to him.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, Isaiah,
6-foot guys. Yeah,
but I think the fact that they called up Barkey before bump tells you that they might not be as concerned with the size element on the wing.
Yes. I don't think that the Barkey call-up was something where they plan to have on the rest of the year. And the thing is, Tocchet has vacillated in his comments. Like first he said, "Oh, he's this, he's that, and all that," and then later on, after the Ranger game, he kind of moderated a little bit and said, "Well, we got to make sure we don't rush these guys. Got to do everything." And of course, Bump got hurt, and thank you for. So I still think Barkey would have been a call-up, to be honest with you, because Barkey is more advanced as a thinker out there on the ice, in my opinion, than Bump is. Bump still maybe not processing the game. And I think Bump is benefiting from Barkey more than the other way around. That's just the way I see it when I saw them together in the AHL. So, all right. Hey, Jess, I think I want to leave it there. Got to catch this Canada game. I got it on the DVR, but still. Yeah. Anyway, so, we'll be back. Wednesday the 7th, a rare Wednesday show, but the schedule, we're going to be back all kinds of days. You never know. Anyway, Chef B, where can people find you on X?
Well, you can find me at Chef to the Left B. It's right there on the thing there. So Chef to the Left B on Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it. And you can, hey, I love the little talk and chat about what I think the Flyers are going to do. I know I got a bizarre take sometimes, but it's nice to chat with the other Twitter followers out there. So
you got it. And the great Dan Silver, any last word before you give them where they can find you?
We'll see. I think this is going to be a really important road trip for the Flyers to see if they can score some goals, get the power play going a little bit. I think they could go kind of one of two ways this season, or they could just kind of stay where they are. But that's it for me. Just enjoying watching the World Juniors. We'll see how Martone looks tonight. Maybe Luchanko. Luchanko might not even be in the lineup tonight. We'll see what happens with him. But maybe he is. I haven't looked yet. And I just put down January 7th on my calendar. So
you got it. Appreciate it.
And folks can find me on X and Bluesky at dsilver88, the 88 for Eric Lindros.
You got it. The last real stud we had, except for that 1 year of Forsberg, was really good too. Anyway, you can follow the O&B Puckcast on X at O&B Puck at O&B Puck. Same thing with Bluesky. We're on GETTR at O&B Puckcast at O&B Puckcast. You can also follow the O&B Puckcast on several podcast platforms: Apple, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, Amazon, Audible. Of course, we're on YouTube. You're watching it right now, unless you're on Facebook. You can just pop in O&B Puckcast or O&B Puck. It'll start coming up on either one of those platforms. And if you could subscribe, follow, whatever applies to your platform, we really do appreciate it. It'll help move us up the charts when people are looking for Philadelphia Flyer podcast. So that's all we have for you tonight. Until next time, everybody, have a great new year. We'll see you. Thanks for 2025. And stay safe out there until January 7th when we see you again. Take care.
Yep.